What's up, everybody? So today I've got a really cool fly for you. This is a great early season high water stonefly hatch fly. This is going to be a double bead stonefly nymph, and it's going to have no lead, no wire. It's going to be tied with two tungsten beads, and I'm using an olive tungsten that's a little bit larger, and then a smaller tungsten red bead just as kind of a hot spot. Great fly. I don't like stoneflies to be too heavy. I've tied them before really heavy, and in my experience, most of the time when I'm fishing stoneflies, the fish tend to be migrating towards the banks to hatch, and I fish them a little bit shallower. So having one that's too heavy just gets me hung up a lot, and I don't do as well with it. So this one's a little bit lighter, but it does still have two tungsten beads. It's designed for that high water period of time on most of these rivers when the stoneflies are hatching. So this is a really simple fly to tie, but it's going to be tied in 3 separate steps. We're going to do the head first, and we're going to do a little bit of the thorax where the beads are, and then we're going to go back to the abdomen and tie the abdomen and the tail and all that at the same time. So we're going to start right up front, right behind the eye, which is different than you would start most flies. Usually you start back towards the bend at the starting point. And I'm going to tie in some golden stone rubber leg material, and I'm not really going to worry about how long they are tying them in because we can trim these at the end. So I'm just going to tie those in right behind the eye, try to get them separated, and then I'm going to trim them down a bit. Like I said, I'm not too worried about how long they are because I'm going to adjust that if I need to at the end of this fly. At this point, I'm going to whip finish section 1. So the head of this, I call it section 1, gets whip finished, and then it gets hit with 1 little drop of super glue. So let me come in with a little drop of super glue and lock in all that thread. Okay, once that super glue's on, I take my tungsten bead and slide it up over the super glue, and it just kind of locks in on top of that thread. So now we're ready for section 2, which I call the thorax section of this fly. We're going to build up a little thread base. I really like how super gluing that head locks the bead in a real centered position. And then I'm just going to X a couple more golden stone legs right behind that big tungsten bead. So I'm just going to put one on one side, tie it in. Oh, I did that a little short. Let's make that a little longer. I don't like them too long. They just get tangled around everything, but I don't like them too short either. I want these things to move. So now we're going to tie in another set for the other side, and we'll trim that down just a bit. Okay, so there you have the first batch of legs and then antenna. This is going to be a real buggy looking fly too. These legs are going to, I want these legs to move all over the place. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of dubbing. And I'm using one of my favorites. This is hair ice dubbing in an olive brown. I love tying with this stuff. It's really easy to dub. It's got a little bit of flash, but not too much. And I just like all the different refractions and the colors that come off on this dubbing. So I'm going to tie a couple turns behind the back set of legs. Then I'm going to come in and tie a couple turns right through the middle of the legs. And then I'm going to come in and tie a couple turns right towards the front of the legs. Okay, now this is section number 2, and we're going to whip finish this. And then we're going to take that bead and we're going to push all of this up. And it's just going to get kind of crazy in there. Okay, section 2. There it goes. Now, we're ready for the 3rd section. These legs centered. So I'm going to take this bead and I'm just really going to sandwich it up, just push it up right into all that dubbing. You can see how the thread that started this will just lock that bead in. Oh, I love that. That looks so good. Now I'm going to reattach my thread, and we're going to do the abdomen. So I'm going to bring that thread right behind the bead. I don't want it to slip at all. And then I'm going to go back all the way down to the bend of the hook. And now I'm going to tie in my tail, which is going to be 1 more set of rubber legs. Wrap it around the thread, bring it up, lock it in. And then we're going to tie in a black wire. I'm going to use a little bit of medium size uniwire, some black wire. We're going to stick that up under the bead and tie it all the way in. Okay. I'm going to hit this with a little bit more super glue. And we're going to go back with some more of this hair ice dubbing. Just going to keep adding some little bits to it. Almost done. Don't want to catch those rubber legs. Notice I keep tapering this body up so that it gets thicker and thicker as you get towards the beads. And that's what it looks like so far. Pretty cool stuff. Off that bead. I'm going to take our black wire, wrap it up. Right behind this bead. Tie it off. One more little splash of dubbing. This is kind of a neat trick. I'm going to take my super glue and put some super glue on the thread. And then we're going to whip finish with that super glue on the thread. Kind of cool stuff. We did that one by hand. Come in, trim these tails. There it is. Double bead, hot spot, golden stone. One of my favorite little stonefly nymphs. And it flat out gets it done. Good little fly.